Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Park Board meeting of May 23rd, 2022. This evening we have some new board members that are joining us and some new staff members that I haven't seen before, so I'm looking forward to meeting those people as well. First thing we're going to do is do a bit of a roll call here for the board members. And when I call your name, please take yourself off mute if you're there and just acknowledge your attendance. Chris.
Present.
Zach.
Present.
Marlene.
Hello, present.
And I think we're going by Tim, is that right?
That's right.
Thank you for being present. And Duong Bell, I believe you're going by Katie. Are you here too as well tonight, Katie?
Yes, I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody's here that we've got tonight. So we do have a quorum this evening. Our next aspect here to cover is approval of minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to review minutes from our last meeting of April 25th? Anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections? Not seeing anything. Does anybody have any objection to approval of minutes? Seeing no objection, I hereby approve minutes for our meeting of April 25th. Thank you for that. Next item is, I'm just going to briefly mention the things that we're going to cover on the agenda this evening. And we're going to have a little bit of a round robin welcome here since we have some new people with us this evening to introduce everyone. We're going to have leadership elections this evening here for this next term for both chair and vice chair. We're going to have an update on rules and regulations, which is always good timing, especially for new people that are joining us. And we're going to have a great presentation from Matt Meckler and maybe, did I see Rick somewhere too? Regarding the city tree program, where there's a number of things there that we're going to talk about this evening. So given that, I wanted to just then move on to public comments. Melissa, do we have anybody that's with us from the community that would like to speak?
We have two members of the community. Susan Novell has her hand raised, and we also have Connie Marsh on the line. Susan, I'm going to promote you to a panelist so you can go ahead and make your remarks.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can hear you. Thank you, Susan, for joining us.
Thank you, Park Board, for being here tonight, and staff. My name is Susan Neville, and I live on Cougar Mountain for about 26 years. So I've been around a while. I would like to comment on the tree program you're going to discuss towards the end of your evening. As some of you may know, the recent Title VIII Land Use Code changes that they're going into effect now includes a lot of what you're talking about during that tree program. And I've been following the changes closely, especially critical areas and tree canopies and the environment. And under the new code changes, many of the areas that you're discussing, including the replanting of trees, talking about contracted certified arborists, and even the heritage trees, are getting many more protections added to them, to our zoning, which is something that's been coming around in a long time, and I'm very excited about. During the PPC and environmental board meetings covering these topics on the first draft, it was very much mentioned that an insufficient amount of monitoring or oversight system will be in place to ensure the compliance and success of our new codes that we're putting in. And because of those reasons, the City Council has agreed that during the upcoming June mid-year budget talks, which is next month, They will look at the addition of one or both of these positions to help ensure compliance and monitoring and what's needed to ensure the protections of our canopy and environment. And the first one they're looking at is a certified on-staff arborist, which currently Kirkland and Edmonds have one. And this person helps in tree removal, anything you would call your person for the contracting, plus developmental review, other inspections. They belong to the community. They have an interest. They're not somebody we're buying without an interest in our future. I think it would be a really good aspect to think about. The other one I just wanted to share with you was a possibility of an urban forest manager. And currently Renton and Tacoma have this, plus of the others. They oversee all tree management, development and maintaining all tracking methods. They monitor and removal compliance and preservation of tree inventory. So I wanted you to be aware that this is going on too, because like I had mentioned before, I'd rather use our money on a person on staff rather who invests in our future and knows it and we can work with, rather than spending our money on consultings like we have in the past. So thank you for your time. Look forward to a new board and have a good evening.
Thank you for your comments, Susan. Have a good evening too. Melissa, anybody? Oh, you mentioned Connie's with us.
Yep, let me move her up to panelist. One moment. Okay, Connie, you are all set.
Oops. Okay, hi you guys. So Susan said many things I agree with, but I was wondering if I could possibly comment after the presentation because I really have no idea what they're going to say or how it's going to be couched. Is that possible?
For you, Connie, and since this is my last evening as chair, I'll bend the rules a little bit just for you, especially since
Oh,
we
you're
didn't
such a
have an awful lot
sweetheart.
of time to review the material this time too. So, do you have any other comments other than trees, or is that your only comment?
Well, I'm sort of so excited about trees, I can't think about anything else. So
Okay, so I'll come back to you after we have our discussion about trees.
thank you.
Okay. So,
That's all.
that everyone? Okay. So actually, that puts us right on time here too. So let's move into welcoming. And I think Jeff's going to take this to start off the show.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And boy, welcome, welcome, Katie and Tim to the park board. We thought we'd take a couple of minutes here and do like we would in a real room, go around the table and introduce ourselves. But we'll do this Brady Bunch style a little bit. So what we'd love to hear is just perhaps everyone share their name, their either relationship or how long they've been related to Issaquah, and then maybe one fun fact. Why don't we go with what's your favorite view in Issaquah, if you have a favorite view. So I'll be the guinea pig, and then after you go, you get to say tag to the next person since we're not actually around a table. So Jeff Watling, Parks and Community Services Director here with the City of Issaquah. I've been in this role since 2016, so it'll be 6 years this August, and it's been an absolute privilege serving this community. Lots of favorite views in Issaquah. If I was to pick one right now, this moment, it's probably because I was out there this weekend. But if you stand on home plate at Veterans Memorial Park and look south with the view of City Hall, but then the view of Squawk Mountain beyond it, it is absolutely stunning. It is just a gorgeous valley view. And to do that in the fall with all the colors popping is amazing. Tim, why don't you go next?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, My name's Tim Motley. I live on Squawk Mountain and been in Issaquah for about 4.5 years and have really enjoyed spending time in the parks and trails and mountains. And so, yeah, I guess my favorite view would probably be on Squawk Mountain from Debbie's view. There's been a number of times I've sat up on the little bench up there, been alone, and enjoyed a spectacular view of Mount Rainier. So, yeah, I love it. And I am at a bit of a disadvantage because I can't see everyone else's names and I don't really know you yet. So, Katie, I see your name, so I'm going to pick you and have you go next.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm Katie, and I lived here in Issaquah since 2004. And my favorite views of the city would have to be on top of Poo Poo Trail. And I always love to say that the name of that trail because my kids, they get a kick out of it every time because they I don't know what they're envisioning, so I had to try to tell them, no, poo poo means it's like the train used to go up there and it makes the sound poo poo, but with kids they come up with something else altogether. So I'm very excited to be here. My first meeting, I feel very official, so thank you for welcoming me in. Thank you.
Do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go. My name's Brad Book. I've been the chair now for 6 years and with the park board for 10 years. I've been a resident of Squawk Mountain for 38 years. So I guess I'm showing that I'm a bit aged compared to others. My favorite view, well, Katie kind of took it, but I'll go with it again. Is at Poo Poo Point. I guess the thing that I like about it is it's got a great viewpoint to look at Squawk Mountain, which is certainly dear to my heart, and also to the Lake Sammamish watershed, which is also something very special. So those are my two reasons. Actually, there's others, and also other great viewpoints as well. But I'm going to pass it off to Chris.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris Kovac. Been a resident of Squawk Mountain for 22 years. Been on the park board for 4 years. And my favorite views have already been stated. Debbie's would be one of them. So kind of a smaller little nugget is on the trail from, I think it's maybe the Crystal Creek Trail or something, from the top of Sycamore going up Squawk Mountain to the East Ridge Trail. There's this one portion where there are these big, huge erratic boulders, and you kind of hike through that, and there was a bridge there. It was damaged. I'm not sure if it's been restored yet, but that's one of my favorite little spots.
Thanks, Chris. I got to go look for that one.
Not far from your house.
And who are you going to pass it off to?
How about Marlene?
All right. I'm Marlene Waxy. I also live on Squawk Mountain. I've lived in Issaquah since 2016. So maybe one of the newer folks to Issaquah and to Squawk, I guess, as there's a lot of us on Squawk. I love it. Came here for work and just really fell in love with Issaquah. Great views that you all have said. One that hasn't been said that I really enjoy is just at Central Park, kind of at golden hour. When it's sunny and beautiful, you see the city and the mountains, and it's just really, really beautiful. And you catch it right, and it all seems to be glowing. So I'm a big fan of that one as well. And let's see, now I'm playing who hasn't gone yet. Rick, have you gone? Who hasn't gone?
No, Rick hasn't gone.
Perfect. That's what I thought.
Good work, Rick, and that you're muted. This gives me a chance to introduce you as well. Rick Still is our new Parks and Operations Manager, not our IT director, but the Park Operations Manager with the city. He's been here a month now. Rick, can we hear you? Oh, If your laptop's in a port, you might want to take it out. No worries. Why don't we pass it to Zach?
I'm Zach Sobliski. I've been with the Parks Board for 1 year. I lived in Issaquah for about 4 years and now living in Ravensdale, right against the Cedar River watershed. My favorite view in the Izzy Alps is actually Kevin's Point. It's a kind of like sub-peak between Middle Tiger and South Tiger. And it gives excellent panoramics, I think, of the entire area. You can see kind of east and west Tiger as well as Middle Tiger, and then look towards South Tiger and even off to Squawk and some of the other mountains. So because it's kind of been logged out in that area, some really nice views there.
Next up, Zach.
How about are we a staff as well, Jennifer?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Fink, Park Planner and Project Administrator with the city. I have been here, finishing my 8th year. August will start 9. And one of my favorite views, I live in Sammamish, but technically I still feel like I'm Issaquah because I do everything in Issaquah. But one of my favorite views that has not been mentioned, I'm going to call 2. One is at East Sunset Trailhead. When you hike up to the top, just when you hit the power line trail, there is a highly unpopulated view that you can sit and enjoy yourself and look out at Lake Sammamish as well as downtown area. And it is really quite spectacular. It's very similar to Poo Poo Point, but probably less traveled. And then another view is from a piece of property we're hopefully closing on recently. And it's a wonderful view back over at both Grand Ridge and Tiger Mountain. So the property is on Squawk. So very nice indeed. Look forward to more of the community being able to enjoy that one day.
And next up, Jennifer.
I'm going Ryan.
All right. Well, my name is Ryan Ramey, and I'm the youth representative to the Parks Board, along with another Sean Fan. And so we both serve on the Youth Advisory Board and the Parks Board, and sort of serve as a connection between the two. So I've been on the Youth Advisory Board for 7 years, and I've been on the Parks Board for about 1.5 years now, which has been really exciting. And I'd have to say my favorite view is anywhere I can spot a paraglider. I think that's really cool that that's a recreational opportunity where we live, and it's just really cool to start seeing them out again now that the sun's out. Yeah, and I will pass it off to Matt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Meckler. I'm our Parks Operations Supervisor. I grew up on Squawk Mountain, but on the other side, on the May Valley side. So I spent my childhood roaming the woods up on top of the mountain. I've been with the city of Issaquah since 1986. I started as a seasonal part-time employee while going to college. And then in 1991, started full-time with our Parks Department, went to our Public Works Department for a couple of years, and then jumped back over to Parks, and here I am. And my favorite view, and I'm surprised no one's said this yet, is I like the view from Grandview Park. When you go all the way out to the very end where the big rocks are, because you can see all the way north up to Mount Baker on a clear day. The North Cascades, Seattle, Bellevue, the Olympics, it's pretty awesome. So I think that's one of my favorite and most easily accessible views in our park system. And I guess we can try Rick again. See if this microphone works. Uh-oh, it doesn't look good.
Nope, doesn't look good.
Yeah. Bummer. Sorry, Rick. Rick's favorite view. Let's guess Rick's favorite. No, just kidding. Melissa, do you want to wrap it up?
Sure, I'll wrap it up. So Melissa Ching, Parks Operations Specialist. I've been with the city for almost 9 years. And my favorite view isn't necessarily an outlook view. We'll take a different stance. But over at Confluence Park, I've really enjoyed walking through those trails and meandering my way down to the riverside or creekside with my son, and watching him talk to the ducks and, you know, throw little breadcrumbs and other things to them has, you know, been one of my favorite views / memories of the city. And I like checking it out every spring and seeing how it's changed ever so slightly, right? Because with all the flow of water, it definitely changes year to year. So that would be my favorite. And Rick, if you want to, you could drop something in the text to everyone if you wanted to. Sorry, your mic isn't working.
Yeah, I can't tell what's going on.
Hey, now we can hear you.
Oh, hey.
Rick,
I
we can hear you.
unplugged it 4 or 5 times. There's like 4 options. Anyway, Rick Still, Park Operations Manager. I've been in Parks and Recreation about 37, 38 years professionally. I coached soccer for 15 years, and we just installed a bench, a donation bench at Central Park, and sitting down with the family, looking over the soccer field with the mountains behind. That was a pretty cool view, especially with all the emotions the family had. That was pretty cool. So, and I started March 1st. So,
Thank you, Rick. Nice to meet you. And
Another thing about Rick is he's very persistent. Just terrific. He demonstrated here tonight. No, glad you're here, Rick. Thanks.
well, that was fun. And as always, it's great to actually see how many great places there are here in town to see what we have to enjoy here day in, day out. So maybe some of those are, I know I picked up at least a couple there along the way that I didn't even know about. So we're on to our next item in the agenda, which is leadership elections. And I'm going to have Jeff kick off this one.
Gladly, Brad. Thank you. And a little different night tonight. I too thank you for playing along with the introductions. Always fun. Some housekeeping tonight. So our first matter is with the new year, elections of a chair and a vice chair. As Brad said, this appointment will be a little different in that it'll be a first time for me in my what'll be 6 years. Brad has served as the chair for 6 years now. So I would just first, before I guess seeing if anyone's interested, I just want to give a big kudos and a thank you to Brad and his role as chair. Has been fantastic. And Brad, it's been such a pleasure working with you directly as a chair, and our chance to meet on a pretty regular basis in terms of setting agendas and getting these things going. And I just know your passion for this town, your passion for parks, your passion for the environment is just evident in who you are. So kudos for all of that.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
So in that, you know, historically, we've sought nominations. I think as Brad and I sort of talked through this, we thought before we take nominations, we rather than being voluntold or pointed to by someone else, I want to put out on the table is are any of our board members interested in serving as chair? I think as Brad has demonstrated, this is a role that really provides facilitation during the meetings, a chance to work with staff in setting work plan and agenda for the park board. So in that, are there any of you that are interested in being considered for the chair?
That looked a little reluctant there, Zach.
So I see Zach is interested.
Thanks for prompting me along there, Bella. I mean, we appreciate your assistance tonight.
So in that, Zach, do you want to maybe share some thoughts, a few words on your interest? Be great.
Yeah, I'm well, definitely very passionate about Issaquah Parks, even not, necessarily being a resident any longer. It's definitely a place that's very special to me, and one of my favorite places to to visit, and definitely just want to sort of do my part to continue continue the good work that's being done with the parks, and yeah.
Well, I know too, your role as vice chair this last year, I've certainly, enjoyed the opportunity to have you join in on those agenda meetings as well. So the board knows that there is not a residency requirement for the chair position. Just wanted to clarify that.
Do we have any
Sharing
other
that
people
interest?
that,
Oh, go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
maybe I just stepped on your words there, Jeff. Sorry about that. Do we have any other people that have interest in being chair? Seeing none, I'd like to officially nominate Zach to be chair here this next term.
Second.
And thank you, Marlene, for seconding that. Every board member, if you would like to raise your hand, if you approve the nomination, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't see if Katie's hand has raised, but she doesn't actually know Zach. That is an adequate amount to say
Yes,
you
my
are.
hand. Yeah, I'm raising my hand. You
Thank you,
can't see
Katie.
me, but I am.
Thank you, Katie. That's
Yes.
that's an official vote and authorization. And so, Zach, thank you and welcome as the new chair for this next term.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
I won't put you on the seat tonight, Zach. I'll go ahead and conclude things for you so you can still take another breather here for tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, on to vice chair.
Sounds good. On to vice chair. So similarly, before the nominations start bantering about around our virtual room, is there anyone interested in being considered as the vice chair? Similar to the chair role, you certainly take part in working with staff on work plan and setting the agendas for the meetings. You would serve the role of chair if the chair is not available for a meeting as well. Any interest in being considered vice chair?
I guess I'd be willing to be vice chair. I don't want the responsibility of chair, so glad Zach wants to do that, but could help out in the event that Zach cannot fulfill his duties or whatever else is needed from the vice chair situation.
Thank you, Marlene. Appreciate that.
Ditto.
Any other
That
interest?
was fantastic. So Zach visually gave a reluctant hand. That was like an audible. Yeah, I'll do it. You guys are, and I say this all.
I did strategically wait to see if anyone was really excited about it because I wouldn't want to take away, but I'm happy to step up if we need someone to do that.
I so applaud, much like Brett, just your interest and willingness to serve on an advisory board like this and to take a leadership role, knowing how all of you have busy lives with a lot going on. So thank you so much.
Anyone else have an interest in vice chair? Seeing none, I will officially nominate Marlene to be vice chair.
Second.
Zach is second. So all in favor of Marlene as vice chair, please raise your hand. And there's Katie. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
And that looks unanimous to me. So welcome to vice chair position, Marlene. I know you and Zach are going to be great additions to the board, and we look forward to working with you in the year ahead. So.
Thank you all, and thank you in particular, Zach and Marlene. a suggestion, and I want to say this too as we went through our introductions. Brad, I know you have so willingly expressed interest in sort of coming alongside Zach. I don't want to say mentoring, but providing some assistance as that baton is passed. So Zach, Marlene, as we set the agenda meeting next month, we'll coordinate that with Brad as well in your schedules and start that process. So again, thank you so much. I also want to offer this, and I doesn't necessarily need to be at the meeting or a show of hands, but as Tim and Katie are coming on board as the park board, I know they'll certainly get perspective of what this is like from staff, but it'd also be great if they had a chance to understand the perspective of park board from you as other park board members. So if any of you are interested in reaching out to either Tim or Katie and just sharing your thoughts, perspective, helping them gain some knowledge and understanding of what the park board is like, or answering any questions, please extend yourself, extend an invite, go grab some coffee or something. So not, I guess, an official mentoring program, but just I think a chance to share your perspective. I would encourage that.
And I would encourage it even further to maybe make it a little bit perhaps more official that that maybe for this next term, if somebody wants to be a mentor for either Katie or Tim, that you make that be known, and not only to them but to the board, and for them to have an opportunity as a go-to person if they ever have any questions or would just like to speak off record. I think it's good to actually have some experience to provide that kind of insight. But I'm certainly intending to do that for Zach, and also can do that for Marlene as well in that respect. So that's my official nomination of myself as a mentor for both of you here in this next coming term. So always feel free that you can reach out to me at any time. So I think that kind of, unless you have more on that topic, Jeff, I think that kind of concludes elections this evening.
Sure does.
Good. With that, we're on to our next item, which is rules and regulations. And Jeff, you're up again.
All right. Well, this I know we have got some interest in getting to our city tree program, which we will. This was just an opportunity and really a continuation of a conversation we started at last month's meeting. I think with some of the transition that we're seeing amongst the park board, one of the items that was discussed and that we wanted to sort of invite conversation and discussion and get a sense of what council goals or park board goals might be, forgive me, was this idea of how we want to look at maybe creating some additional flexibility within the alternate positions. So within our rules and regulations, we now have 2 alternate positions that really are defined as alternates. And as such, they've really been seen as, and most often thought of as, a position to transition into the park board. As we, again, sort of see where we're going and knowing we're in the midst of a recruitment phase for additional park board positions, one of the ideas that come up is, what would it look like to have added flexibility to those positions to consider not only an alternate as someone's transitioning in, but utilizing those opportunities, that 2-year term, for more of a transition out, and in essence sort of thinking of it also as a legacy type position where someone who has served a lengthy term and still has some interest in serving, knowing many items on the park board are often multi-year, either projects or initiatives. How might this be an opportunity to create that flexibility? Myself and Melissa have had a chance to talk a little bit further with the city clerk's office to understand a little bit about what mechanics might look like in those alternates. But before I jump into that, I would I guess, pause and open it up for just some reflection or thoughts that you all might have on interest in that perspective. I know we talked about this a little bit, but is there interest in adding flexibility? And if so, would it be with the two existing alternate positions, or is there interest in considering additional positions? Any thoughts? Show of hands. Zach?
I think I'd prefer an additional position added so as to not take away from incoming members to in the alternate position.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, do you have any history on using alternatives in the past?
We do. Great question. Yeah, typically alternate positions have been, like I said, for sort of transitioning into the park board. So not necessarily as a sort of more of this transition out or this legacy piece. That would be a new consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess could you just elaborate on what you saw as advantages or challenges that was faced when you used that program? Because it's a new concept to me.
Yeah, great point. So within the bylaw, most boards and commissions in the city, I think they all have alternate positions. These positions are not regular positions in that if all the regular board or commission members are there, they are not a voting member. But as an alternate, they are invited to attend all meetings. They do, are not only encouraged to attend all meetings, but interact in discussion. Be informed so that especially if it's a topic that is covered over multiple meetings, and should a regular position not be there, a regular member not be there on any given night, the alternate would be a voting member in their stead. And so in that context, more often than not, the alternate positions have been utilized by someone who is initially coming onto the board in some cases, and then next application cycle may apply for a regular position and be seated as a regular position. Does that help give a little bit of context?
Yeah, I guess a follow-up is, what do we have in terms of alternate positions or regular positions that are unfilled right now?
Great question. We have one regular position that's unfilled, and the two alternate positions are currently unfilled.
And also, just to clarify, alternates are a 2-year term, whereas regulars are a 4-year term. So it kind of gives new people an opportunity to, get their feet wet to some extent with the board before they make any longer commitment. I would be in favor of adding legacy positions as an additional, much like Zach said, rather than to take away from regular positions. I do like, it's something that I actually brought up, frankly, in the course of discussion about this topic, and so I'm in favor of the term and the intention of it. I think the details just need to be, the length of it, and also whether or not there would be any potential voting rights or not, much like alternate positions or whatever. I think those details need to be ironed out as well.
No, I appreciate that, Brad, and hearing that from both you and Zach. I saw a couple of general head nods occurring. Do others share that similar perspective in terms of, rather than creating flexibility with the two existing alternates, there's interest in that flexibility, but there's interest in adding a few more positions, a few more alternate / legacy positions.
I personally think it's a good idea to keep a balance in every board and commission, and it's a way of keeping older, more experienced and knowledgeable people still in the midst of the board. And so I guess that's the intention of it.
Yep. Yep.
So is the intent really to not have someone be, start as an alternate, then become a board member, then become chair, and then just retire? And maybe to phase them out, keep them on board to help with the next chair and transition them out slowly?
Yeah, the intent would be to have that flexibility. Not all regular members would need to phase out that way. Some regular members might say, hey, you know what, I'm not interested in reappointment. I love my time serving, I'm done. But if there is, expressed interest from someone who wants that, right, this would create some of that flexibility to do that and understand in periods of relatively high turnover for any board or commission, is this a way to keep some of that experience on the board as that transition out happens?
I guess I would say, and sorry if you guys covered this, there was another dog at our yard and my dog was barking crazy. So sorry for going off for a second, had a little pet situation. I don't think, adding flexibility is ever a bad thing. So for me, if really the conversation here is about changing the rules so that we can do either or, I don't really see a downside to sort of adjusting rules to be a little more flexible based on the needs of the board at any given time.
All right. Well, I'm hearing a general consensus of the same thing. And so we weren't intending to try and draft something tonight or take action tonight. In fact, I was saying Melissa and I had a chance to talk with the clerk's office. So our intent would be to come back the next meeting, the June meeting, with some language for you all to consider, and also an understanding of what the process would be. In talking with the clerk's office, to make a adjustment of adding in essence adding positions to a board or commission, there would be not only an amendment needed of the rules and regulations, but also the IMC, the Issaquah Municipal Code. So there would need to be an amendment to the IMC that would be, the support of mayor and council and approval of council. Again, not a reason not to do this or have that consideration, but just wanted to make sure that was known and understood. But again, a process we would undertake and work directly with the clerk's office on that consideration. So appreciate the discussion. More to come. Our plan will be to circle up with them and bring something back in June for discussion and potential action. So thank you.
Yeah, can I just ask a quick follow-up, which is, I found out about the position from the letter from the mayor, which I actually read. But I just wonder, how else do you find people that might be interested in serving on this board or other boards?
Yeah, that's a great question. Usually, so how Issaquah's done park or just board and commission recruitment is same time every year, that sort of winter, February, March timeframe, recruitment is sent out. Typically by the mayor's office, it starts, we will send it out to various databases we have within our parks department. For example, Tim, now we have an active recruitment right now. I was going to mention under the director's report, but I'll mention it now. The active recruitment for that vacant regular position and those 2 vacant alternate positions is out now. We've sent that out and via email to our recreation user groups, many of the nonprofits partners and those that, you know, rent our spaces or use our spaces, or we partner in so many ways with, we send that announcement out to them as well.
Hey, Jeff, you want to make a comment about the quorum issue?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Not so much the quorum issue, but the bylaws that were, I believe the bylaws that were attached on this agenda were not the, there were some amendments that were made last August. We will make sure when we bring back the proposed language and the process that would be needed, we will also bring that back with the most updated rules and regs from last August. Is that what you were?
Yes, but also last August we had changed quorum to 5 people. But because of the fact that we're short-staffed by 3 people, that it makes sense at this point anyway, in the interim, to maybe continue with a quorum as being only 4 members. We need to just accomplish at least 50% essentially of what we have in terms of membership.
Yeah, and I will confirm that with the clerk's office as well as we discuss and what we bring back. We'll sort of, we'll propose some, what some options are, or if we just consider, proceeding without that amendment. So yeah, I'll run that down with the clerk's office.
That cover that?
It sure does. Thank you, everybody.
So, Matt, we kind of got you going here a little earlier than normal. So I'm glad that we were able to do that for you. So, in any event,
if you don't mind, I'd love to kick this off, and a number of staff will certainly be taking part in this, and Matt will certainly be a big part of the show for certain. So, yeah, I guess just thank you, Brad, I think for context and following a number of our recent meetings. And Susan, thank you. I think you spelled out a lot of the context for this conversation, given some of the Title 18 discussions, some of the joint meetings you've all had with the PPC. Obviously, the importance of trees, the proposed revisions with the tree code, certainly felt like it was good timing. I know as Brad and I have talked through agendas, bringing forward and providing just an overview to not only our new park board members, but all of you as board members, just an understanding and some context of what we currently do, what our current city tree programs are within that are overseen by this department, by Parks and Community Services. So not only Matt, but Jen Fink and Melissa are here as well as Rick, just to provide an overview of those programs and have a chance to answer questions. And then at the conclusion, I would love to share some thoughts about moving forward into 2023 and beyond, and some considerations that I'd love to share. So with that, I know, Jennifer, thank you for sharing the presentation. And Matt, I believe you get to kick it off.
All right. I think we're ready for the next slide, which is just kind of our whoops. Yeah, there we go. Kind of our talking points. So yeah, I'm going to kick it off tonight, just kind of talking about our Tree City USA program, and then Jen's going to kind of take the lead for a few of them, and then I'll be back with Green Issaquah and Contracted Arbor Services. So just starting out with Tree City USA. Ready for the next slide. So Tree City USA is a program that the city of Issaquah has been involved in for, this is actually our 30th years that we are working on our Tree City USA. At the end of this year, we'll submit our application to the state to meet the qualifications. It's one of the oldest Arbor Day Foundation's programs that they have, is Tree City USA, and there's over 3,600 cities across the United States that are Tree City USA's. Like I said, this is our 30th year. Issaquah is tied for 7th for being one of the oldest tree cities in the state of Washington. And in case you were wondering who we're tied with, Clyde Hill, Everett, and Olympia are the other 3 that are the same amount of years as us as a Tree City USA. And if you really want to kind of visit the site, if you go to the arborday.org website, you can go and you can look at all the different tree cities by state, and there's some really, really neat information in there. And then if you click on Washington, it'll show all the cities in the state of Washington that are tree cities and how many years they've been in or an active Tree City USA. Speaking of Washington, here's a pretty good slide infographic of just kind of talking just in Washington itself. So as you can see, there's 93 communities in the state of Washington that are Tree City USA's. Over 37,000 trees were planted last year as part of the Tree City USA program. And in case you were wondering who the longest active Tree City USA is in the state of Washington, that's Ellensburg, and they've been a Tree City USA for 38 years. Seattle's our largest Tree City USA, and our smallest city is the city of Hunts Point. So those are kind of some stats there. I kind of went through and dug through some information that I had, and I kind of pulled up some fun stats for everybody, kind of going back to 2016. So since 2016 to 2021, Issaquah has planted over 21,000 trees just within our city parks, natural areas, and open spaces. This year to date, we have already planted 1,016 trees, and right now we have about 400 trees that are stored in our nursery that we're kind of over summering that will be ready to plant this fall when we start doing some more restoration projects when the winter rains come. We'll go for the next one. Yeah, so Tree City USA, there's a few things that you need to do to meet the Tree City USA criteria. You have to have a tree board or department, which the park board kind of serves as that role for us in Issaquah. You have to have a community tree ordinance, and you have to spend at least $2 per capita on urban forestry. And probably the least challenging but the most enjoyable standard to meet is, celebrating Arbor Day and having a mayoral proclamation designated a day as Arbor Day. This last couple of years, the Arbor Day Foundation has actually kind of waived that the Arbor Day event and the proclamation just because of the pandemic. But we were really excited that this year we could start that back up again. So this year, Issaquah celebrated our Arbor Day on April 24th, and we had it up at Harvey Manning Park. So we're glad to get that tradition back up and running, and we had the proclamation then too. So that's just kind of a really quick overview on our Tree City USA program. And now I think Jen's going to kind of talk a little bit about the Million Trees Grant.
Hi, so yes, I'm here to talk about the 1 Million Trees Grant. We were awarded in 2019, pre-pandemic, $75,000 to plant 10,000 trees was our grant application. It was King County's goal to try and plant 1 million trees county-wide. And we were able to get our trees planted with our partners, the Washington Conservation Corps, as well as the Mountains to Sound Greenway Trust. We ended up not using all of our grant funds available. However, we do have some impressive numbers to share. Matt, do you want to talk about this slide, or shall I?
Sure, I can read it off here. So yeah, our Million Tree Grant, we planted about little over 21 acres in 6 different parks and open spaces. Those sites included the Pickering Reach, Sammamish Cove Park, Inge Johnson Park, Park Point, Issaquah Creek Greenway, and Squaw Valley Park, kind of the northern portion of Squaw Valley Park. And as Jen mentioned, we were able to the timing was actually, it couldn't have been more perfect because we also had our Washington Conservation Corps crew that was working for us during this time. And then at the same time, Mountains of Sound Greenway had they also had a AmeriCorps group. So we were able to add that one slide that was back a couple with a big group picture. That was a kind of our Washington Conservation Corps and the AmeriCorps team that helped us plant a lot of trees in a very short period of time. It was very impressive. So we did a lot of plantings in current restoration areas, and then also some new ones too. So we were able to infill some areas and then start some new sites too. So that was really exciting.
Some of the additional work that was done with the Million Trees grant, we also did some invasive removal of blackberry and some canary reed grass so we could get some trees planted in those areas and give them a fighting chance. We also did mulching and some caging. We completed our grant application in 2021, and during the pandemic, it was a little hard to get some of these trees planted, so we had to extend our grant period. However, through this grant program, we were able to successfully plant 11,385 trees, 28% which were evergreen and 72% deciduous. We fell just shy of that $75,000, meaning we couldn't spend enough money in getting the work done, but we had some amazing results as part of that. And so these are areas that we continually do restoration work on. And so we're always out checking on them and making sure that the trees that have been flagged, as you saw in that earlier picture, are doing well and having a fighting chance. So now we're going to talk a little bit about heritage trees and landmark trees. And per the IMC, I just wanted to quickly kind of provide some background as to what each of these definitions for the trees are. A heritage tree is a group of trees or trees specifically designated by the city because of either historical significance, special character, or community benefit. Whereas a landmark tree is a tree greater than 30 inches in diameter breast height. And so when there comes time for a tree removal, there's some specific characteristics or preservation techniques that can be used for a landmark tree. Issaquah's Heritage Tree Program was established the 10th year of Tree Cities USA. This was not an adopted program by City Council. This is more of an implementation program. Some of the application requirements, if you go to the city's website and you type in Heritage Tree Program, it'll pull up a web page that are stated on the application is anyone can make a nomination. However, you need to obtain the property owner's signature. And they acknowledge that heritage tree does not limit one's ability to either prune, remove, or otherwise maintain the tree. It provides a description of the characteristics that merit having some special heritage status. And the deadline for submitting applications is September 1st. We'll accept them all year round. And the Park Board reviews applications at their September meeting to make any nominations. Things that make unique and noteworthy characteristics of heritage trees are either their size or their age, specifically a tree that has reached a size or age not normally seen for that species in the Pacific Northwest. It can be the largest, oldest, or most outstanding specimen in the area. It can also have some historic significance, a tree that is notable because of its association with early settlers, region, or a historic event. And it can also have some ecological value, a notable tree that can provide benefits that maybe aren't typically seen in this area. Designated trees are identified in a register and maintained by the city. They are mapped for public use on the city's public GIS layer. As the park board makes their nominations for consideration at their September meeting, a proclamation will be read by the mayor in November, which is chosen for that month because it's the Washington Urban and Community Forest Month. The property owner who received the nomination or has the property for which the nominated tree is on will receive a certificate, and you can find out more information on the city's website. I'm now going to quickly, I see your hand there, Brad.
Before we move on, I wanted to ask a little bit, there was a bunch of clarification about heritage trees, but not much about landmark trees. Is there more specifics about what the parameters are for a landmark tree?
Landmark tree is only due to size.
How about in terms of pruning, removal, and all of that?
No,
there?
they can still be pruned and maintained.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really the same issues apply to a landmark tree except for the size then?
No, a landmark tree is not necessarily a heritage tree. Just because you have a large, Western red cedar on your property does not mean it warrants any of the noteworthy or special characteristics to have it named as a land or a heritage tree. Heritage tree has to have those special characteristics, not just notably size.
Thanks.
Where a landmark tree is more based solely upon size. So now I'll give a brief update on our carbon credit program. Back in February of 2020, we went to City Council on a study session to introduce the carbon credit programs, update council on partners and kind of what the whole program is, and potentially develop funding source for green management. Took a while, but during a pandemic, but then in October of last year, we did take forward a successful agenda bill to City Council seeking authorization to pursue the city's first carbon credit application. Carbon credit program is the earning and selling of carbon credits. We worked with our partners, City Forest Credits, and there's two different types of projects that you can enroll in a carbon credit program. One is for tree planting projects, and the other is for preservation or acquisition projects. As I mentioned, we worked with our partner, City Forest Credits here in Seattle. They are a 501c3. And they developed a lot of protocols to talk about tree planting projects and preservation projects. When you enroll through the carbon credit program, they serve as a certification registry to ensure that the credits that you have within the property are valid, and they send those through a third-party verification process. But carbon credits alone, knowing what you have and what it's worth is not worth anything until it has a successful buyer. And so buying of the carbon credits is really kind of the alternate end of this piece. But what goes into determining how many carbon credits any particular project holds takes a look at the plants planted or the existing carbon in the trees and the soil, existing tree canopy. They also do factor in a whole bunch of complicated characteristics like rain interception, carbon dioxide avoided, air quality, and energy saved. So the city, as you know, back in 2019 obtained the Bergsma property, or what we're now calling Harvey Manning Park. That would be the yellow area, this project site here, which is adjacent to King County and the city's existing Harvey Manning Park. So we enrolled our first pilot carbon application for this property. And working with our friends at City Forest Credits, we were able to take part in a national sale. Issaquah was one of 13 other cities in urban forest projects that pooled together all of their carbon credits and sold them to one particular buyer. There were two others in Washington State, King County and City of Shoreline, that both had projects, as well as Issaquah. Nationally, this was a really big win for city forests and preservation of forests as a way to meet our commitment to climate. And all of the issued credits were issued for this national sale were issued by City Forest Credits. But as I said, there were 13 throughout the nation. The buyer of the city's carbon credits was Region Network Development, and we're working, they've done a national release as far as the press release on the national sale, and we're working with our local entities, King County and Shoreline, to come up with a local press release sharing the news with others in the region. Having gone through this process, looking at both tree planting projects, we considered some of our trees planted as part of the Million Trees project as a potential planting project, and preservation. All of these projects require a lot of detailed application materials, require some maintenance for the project lifespan, some planting, as you might have seen in the other. There's some protocols and characteristics that will run with the land for either 25 years in the case of an acquisition, 40 or 100 years. And so you really have to be thinking, is the funds you're getting out of the exchange, is it financially worth some of the costs that go into the lifespan of the entire project? There's also periodic reporting for the project lifespan. And everything that has a carbon credit, when you sell those carbon credits, you also get a covenant or a deed restriction that is applied to that property, limiting, in the case of our preservation project, limiting the removal of trees. There's also application fees, registry fees, and at the end of the day, you can calculate all of this stuff for a project, but until there's a buyer of the credits, that's really kind of bringing everything full circle. And one thing we learned through this project or process is that not all projects actually make a good candidate for a project crediting program or application due to some of the nuances, like with the Million Trees program. A lot of that infill planting is hard to monitor for a 25-year lifespan. So if you would like to learn more about City Forest Credits and their different protocols that they set forth, all of their information is on their website. And they were a great partner to work with in this process.
Me again, Jennifer.
Yes, go ahead, Brad.
This carbon credits is an interesting topic. So what kind of money does the city actually get, for instance, for Harvey Manning Park land in credits? I mean, it's a funding thing. Right?
Yeah, we sold over 6,000 credits. I want to say it was, don't quote me, I might be wrong, but it was 6,409, I believe it was. And we received over 200,000.
And where does that money go?
So that's actually going to be used to help with steward Green Issaquah, as well as other projects for urban forestry, as well as maintenance of Harvey Manning Park itself, ensuring invasives and long-term health of those trees.
So it doesn't have to be completely contained within the particular land itself. It could be spread to other areas.
Correct. It is just revenue that comes to a city, but we, in our agenda bill that went to council, sought purposeful use of these funds for forest stewardship activities. And again, there is a restriction on Harvey Manning for a 40-year period of time.
Thanks.
Yes, Tim?
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. Great presentation. I have a question that might be outside of the scope of what you're talking about, but when we're talking about going out that many years and with climate changing the way it is, what kind of attention's being made to planting trees that may be able to survive, if not thrive, in a climate that may be drier and warmer than what we're traditionally used to here?
That's great, very good question. As we go through some of these properties, Harvey Manning is a great example. It's a long-standing stand of trees. There's some areas with very healthy understory and some areas with invasives. And what we can do to help diversify some of the plant material in that understory and help preserve the trees. Also, Harvey Manning Park is one of those sites that also has 6 streams and 12 wetlands on it. So water is naturally occurring there, but making sure you're putting in drought resistant and tolerant plant species, ensuring the biodiversity within those areas to ensure the health and pollination of existing plants as well. So we take a look at what plants in the local ecosystem, you know, whether it's in a wetland area or it's a drier upland area, and making sure we plant the plants that have a good steady fighting chance to make sure that they're adaptable in their current conditions.
Okay, thanks much.
Thank you. Matt, I think we'll pass this back off to you for Green Issaquah.
All right. Do you want me to go ahead and take this, Melissa? I know we talked about.
You got it. It's all you.
All right, cool. All right. So yeah, the Green Issaquah program that was launched in 2020. It's a collaborative effort between the City of Issaquah, Forterra, community groups, nonprofits, schools, businesses, and hundreds of volunteers to help restore and maintain our forested parks and open spaces. Last year, you know, we were able to gather some data from all the work that we've done. So some 2021 impacts of the Green Issaquah program, we were able to basically get almost 1 3/4 acres a new restoration. We were able to actually engage 309 volunteers for a total of 876 volunteer hours and a total of 3,589 plants. And I kind of, again, did some digging through my records, and I thought I'd throw out a couple other little fun facts too. Again, I'm using that 2016 through 2021 data that I had in my database, and from that time period, we've had over 2,775 volunteers that have donated or volunteered over 9,030 hours during that time period. And then just to kind of bring you up to date where we are right now from January to today, we have had over a dozen Green Issaquah events so far this year. We're up to 1,016 trees planted in our city parks and open spaces. We've had 242 volunteers, 199 of those were adult and 43 were youth. And we also have 1/3 of an acre in new restoration just in this year alone. And all of that, you know, really starts with our forest stewards. They're a really key part of this whole program. And so we've had a couple training opportunities where we've been able to train forest stewards on some online classes, and it's part of the Green Issaquah program. So the volunteer forest stewards receive training in forest stewardship and work closely with our partnership staff, and they in turn also lead volunteer events in our forested parks and natural areas. So we have had, in 2021, we had 12 stewards who were trained in the program. And out of those 12 stewards, we had some sites that were adopted already. So we've had projects at East Sunset Way. So if you drive up, like you're going to the Highlands, you may have seen some great work taking place up there at that trailhead. Bernston Park, the Issaquah Alps Trails Club has adopted that site, and in fact just had a work party there this last Saturday. So, and that is, if you haven't been over there in a while, that site's looking amazing. Issaquah Creek Natural Area. So we have the Northwest Dogwood Street project, or site, I should say. We have a volunteer forest steward who has adopted that. Rainier Trail South. So as you're going from the community center towards 2nd Avenue, we actually have one forest steward who's been doing a bunch of work down there, kind of closer to the 2nd Avenue side. And then Harvey Manning Park, where we had our Arbor Day event, we have our forest stewards up there, and then also another forest steward who's working in the Talus open space too, kind of on the south side of Talus. And then in 2022, this year, we've had 4 new stewards join our team, and one of them has volunteered, although we haven't had any events there yet, Confluence Park. We have another steward who's interested in another portion of the Rainier Trail, kind of that center section of the Rainier Trail, just north of the bus barn, in between the bus barn and the community center. And then again, with our Bernston Park stewards, we were able to partner with Sanmar and have a really big 40 plus kind of corporate event out there with our forest steward and Sanmar, which they did amazing work. I think we had about 26 yards of wood chips, and they had them all spread in a matter of 3 hours. So we were able to mulch all around a lot of the plantings that we had done this last fall. So really, really some neat stuff going on within our open space and parks with the Forest Steward program, or Green Issaquah program. And then we'll go for the next slide. There we go. So yeah, not only do we plant a lot of trees, but we have to maintain a lot of trees too. So we work with our contracted arbor services to help us kind of manage and maintain those trees. So we do work with a company, a consulting arborist company, to do tree inspections. So they look at hazard trees, trees of concern. We do probably about 15 to 20 tree evaluations per year. To be honest with you, right now is kind of the quiet time. We're through fall, but once the storms start coming in October, that's when we start really seeing a lot of tree concerns. A lot of them are happening in our forested areas or natural areas that border housing developments. A great example is up in the Highlands. We have a lot of tree issues up there. So usually when the first winds start blowing, that's when we start hearing about some concerns, and that's when we work closely with our consulting arborists to take a look at trees, make sure the concerns are addressed, and anything that we need to do to fix that concern is taken care of, which then we work with our contracted tree services. A couple of them are listed there to kind of take care of those trees that are a little bit beyond our parks operations team expertise. So big trees that are right next to houses or next to things that are really difficult to remove, or they're just the size of them. And then most of the time when we do work in our city open space natural areas, is we try to make those trees, we call them habitat snags. So the tree is cut down if it needs to be removed. Not every tree needs to be cut down. Some of them can just be pruned and they're fine. That's all that needs to be done. But if we do need to remove a tree, we try to create habitat snags, which is cutting the tree to a height to where, should it fall at a later date, it's not going to cause any damage, but it still provides habitat to the surrounding area. So it's a great host for woodpeckers or cavity nesting birds, insects, things like that. And then also the debris that we prune, or that are from trees that we prune in our city open space, is usually left in the open space to decompose naturally and kind of just help promote the forest health and habitat of the forest. So that is kind of what we do for our contracted arborist and consulting. And I think that might be the last slide.
Hey, Matt.
Well, Matt,
So we've been without a city arborist for a number of years now. So has that proven to be the best way to go? I mean, is it more economical still to not have an in-house arborist?
It's a little bit more, I would say there's some challenges just because you have to coordinate, scheduling an arborist to come out to look at. So the response time sometimes, especially, wintertime when we do have our storms, we're not the only city around that has tree issues. It's like it all happens at the same time. So coordinating with an arborist or even tree contracting company to come out in a timely frame is a little bit more challenging. So it has its challenges for sure.
Yeah, and I would echo that, Matt, and Brad, something I was going to add in my closing thoughts along those lines is, as we've certainly been looking at our resources needs within our park maintenance and our park operations team, and have, I think, made some really good headway over the last couple of years. It's something that Matt and Rick and I have been talking about recently. I think the discussions that have come out of the PPC, Title 18 discussions. Susan, thank you. You made comment to this in your public comment. We're really taking a look at what's the right fit for arborist resources that we need in this city. And I guess I would encourage us to think. I don't know that it's onesie twosie anymore. I don't think that it's one or the other. I think we're taking a creative look, Rick and Matt and I, at how do we increase some of our in-house arborist skills, whether it's getting multiple, arborist licenses and looking at that through the budget process, but then also recognizing we're probably going to also need to lean on some contracted arborist work as well. So, given the size of our forest, given I think the number of calls we are expected to respond to, finding that balance of both some in-house resources and contracted resources is an approach that we want to be pointing towards as we head into 2023, 2024 budget. If I could also add just a couple of closing thoughts. A big Matt, Jennifer, thank you for tag teaming that really quick overview. Would love to get thoughts and comments from you as the board. But I guess I just want to highlight, within this department, and I think these programs represent a lot of really great work. But none of these programs alone, and even collectively, these programs are not an urban forest management program. And as we, again, take inventory of the work that we do, as we listen to the community and understand needs and interests, and as the public acreage that the city's asked to manage has grown, we do think it's believe it's very much time that we strongly consider looking at a bigger picture, taking these programs and not seeing them as the answer themselves, but taking a look at that bigger picture of what does urban forest management look like? What does an urban forest program look like? And we think it's time, and that's certainly something that we've begun some conversations with the mayor's office. Again, I hear Susan's public comment and her expressing council interest as well. So we anticipate there being some budget related conversations around how does the city take these programs, but understand, let's look at the umbrella of urban forest management and how we're taking that bigger perspective that can look at everything from development application review to tree maintenance standards and practices, to everything in between. So certainly more to come as those conversations ensue. But thank you for letting us just take a chance to give a pretty broad overview around a lot of topics related to trees. So thank you.
So I kind of wanted to open things up for questions and comments from the board about the tree concept, and also I do want to bring Connie in at the end of that as well, as I mentioned earlier. So does anybody have any questions or discussion about what we just heard about trees? Zach?
Yes, I'm just kind of curious. It was very early on in the slides with regards to the amount of trees planted, and seems like some excellent numbers. I was just curious as to the retention rate, or if there's any sort of follow-up with regards to survival rate of the trees. And then also just thinking, um, planting more xeric species, or kind of right tree, right place, I guess. So just sort of with the trees that are being put in, is there any sort of follow-up as to survival rate?
Matt, as you look at that 21,000 number, any sense of sort of what, I mean, I think that dates back to 2016. You know, what have we seen in terms of retention and survivability?
I'm gonna be going out tomorrow and counting them to see how they. No, I'm just kidding. No, we live in a pretty good spot. You know, a lot of our trees are planted along Issaquah Creek, which is a natural floodplain. So we have some really good soils. So, and I think even kind of maybe comparing numbers with Mountains of Sound Greenway and a lot of projects they've done, we've actually had a really good success rate in our trees that we have planted in our open spaces. I think part of it is because of the great soil conditions. I know some of the projects that have been done, they do have to monitor and kind of take into account tree mortality. But we don't do that in house. But I've seen, you know, some great progress throughout the years. I mean, I think a great example is along the Pickering Trail. So if you're down at the Pickering Barn and you're standing at the Pickering Barn parking lot, you're looking towards Issaquah Creek. I want to say 25 years ago, we planted all that. That was just a big open field. You could look from basically Pickering Barn all the way down towards I-90, and it was just a field. And now you go down there and it's a forest. I mean, it's a small forest, but the trees are, you know, 40, 50 feet tall, and there's owls and great things living in there. And then the animal hospital kind of across the street from there too, another great example. We have examples like that all through our system. So, you know, some of them are a little bit younger forests and some of them are a little bit older, but I think we've had some really good success from everything I've seen, you know, being out in the field and then just with what we've planted recently. Hopefully that kind of helps answer. It's not an exact answer, but I think from what I've seen, it's looking really good from the trees that we have planted and success rate.
Any other questions, comments to the tree team here? I have a few comments that I'd like to make about heritage trees. A little disappointed in the program, frankly. I don't think we've kept up with it very well. I think in part it's been because of the loss of a city arborist who historically used to be the one that provided nominations to the board each year. I mean, I was, when I first started, I remember with the board 10 years ago, that's what was happening. And then it just kind of has fallen off. I mean, the last posting I see in the city website is like 2012. So we're like 10 years without any nominations, which seems odd. I think that lets us know that we need to do some work on that program to, you know, to revitalize it. Especially as a tree city, I think that it's important for us to acknowledge heritage and landmark trees. And so I guess I don't know if everybody had an opportunity yet to read Mary Lynch's email that came through this afternoon, but I echo much of what she had to say. I think that in some part the community may not be aware of these programs to some extent. So I think some outreach to the community by Issaquah Communications would be helpful to seek nominations. I think that also I think it would be nice to do some outreach to some specific groups to try and get more nominations. I mean, we have the park ops people that are always out and about that should be maybe looking for that sort of opportunity. And we have a couple groups like Issaquah Alps Trails Club. It seems odd to me that we don't get nominations from a group like that, but maybe having some communication or outreach to them might be helpful. I think now that we have Green Issaquah stewards, another great opportunity for people that are out and about, to start being cognizant of special trees that could make some nominations. So I don't know, we really need to have more nominations coming in annually to the board each September. Really, they need to be made earlier than that so that an evaluation can be done to see if they even qualify, I guess, to some extent, so that the board can actually make some action in September. I would even be, I was curious, it was mentioned that heritage trees are on the GIS map. It'd be nice to actually publish that so that people could have more awareness of where these trees even are. Because when you look at the website, there's a little comments about it, but to actually go find that tree might be a little bit of a challenge.
Now, Brad, if you go to the city's map layer
Right?
and to the public GIS, the heritage trees have been added as a layer in there, and you can turn them on and find where they're located.
So I guess I need to improve my internet layering skills to find that, I guess, because it'd be nice to see a map of that. Jeff, you had a comment on that?
Oh, I'll wait till you're done, Brad. I had
Okay.
some follow-up and yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
And I also think, this is a little tidbit here, but I also think once a tree, a heritage or a landmark tree has been accepted by the city, it'd be nice to even mount a tiny little plaque on it or something, just so that there's some acknowledgement so that people could see it. People might not want to do that on private property, maybe as much, unless the property owner was accepting of it. But I mean, I just think we need to do more to get that up and running, and because it's been in a void, and I think that even if it takes a subcommittee or something from the park board potentially to maybe give more of an emphasis or focus on that, I certainly would be one that would be, willing to get involved with something like that. But something to kick around, think about. We need to have more people back on the board here to maybe do something like that. But we need to do something because a 10-year void just doesn't seem right for the amount of special trees that we have in our community. And I think acknowledging special trees goes a long ways to giving purpose. So that's my 2 cents. And so go ahead, Jeff, and then I do want to bring Connie in as well.
No, thank you for those comments, Brad, and certainly referencing Mary Lynch's comments as well. I think both of those are fair, and certainly I would agree as well that it's a program that certainly predates my time here. It certainly appears to be a program that lived. It's time to take a look at it and review it and probably update it. Again, a well-meaning, well-intended program that maybe lived more with one staff person than a city wide program, and I think it's, again, that's very fair feedback and worth some review, some updating. What is it we want to try and accomplish with a program like this, and how do we go about accomplishing it and considering it in a broader scale? And I think meshes with some of the goals and commitment of taking a broader look at our urban forest program and how we want to recognize special trees, heritage trees within that urban forest program. So thank you both, Brad and Mary, for those comments.
Thanks, Jeff. Anybody else want to make a comment on trees? Not seeing anything. Melissa, could you loop Connie in?
I will, Brad. And since the start of the meeting, we've also had both Mary Lynch and Julian Meidel join as well. So I don't know if you want to open it up for them when Connie concludes. And then, sorry, Tim has his hand raised before I promote Connie up for making comment.
Go ahead, Tim.
Just what's bubbling in the background, there was a comment about maybe private homeowners don't want a plaque on their tree or what have you. But could we spin it that it would be something that, potentially even makes a property more valuable because you've got designated heritage trees per se on the property. And it would be a, a gold star basically on your property that could be useful, and, people would find, point not only of pride, but of increasing potentially the perceived value of the property. It's all in the spin, right? So just the thought that it could be something that property owners would seek out if you spun it appropriately.
Good point, Tim. Like I said, I think there's lots more brainstorming we can do, and maybe a subcommittee at some point in this next term might be appropriate to, give some more emphasis on that to help advise the city as you consider revising the program a little bit. Go ahead, Melissa. And we've got a few minutes extra. So if Mary and whoever wanted to step in after Connie, as long as they keep it short.
Okay, sounds great. I'll go ahead and promote Connie up for you. Okay, Connie, you have the floor.
Okay, Connie Marsh on Squawk Mountain. I see I'm in the dark. The sun has gone down. So I'm going to start with one yes urban forest plan, and then I'm going to loop back in history, I suppose, to Chris Bertolato, who worked like crazy to plant those plants along Issaquah Creek in the buffer that now we're seeing as forest. And that was a point in time where the community was fighting like crazy to protect the base of Tiger Mountain, to prevent it from being a big multi-development and prevent the trees from coming down there. We did lose the battle with Grand Ridge, and the Issaquah Highlands happened with all those trees being taken down. And all of this was to be able to allow people to have homes. And so you have this tension between, do we preserve the environment in the forests or do you create housing? And now we are at this interesting place where we have climate change and the need for the trees becoming, and not just trees, but understory, becoming more and more important to make sure that we thrive into the future. So the basic question is, why are we protecting our trees? What are we trying to do? And this should be the basis of the urban forest management plan. It's not just trees, it's the understory of trees, it's the habitat creation of trees, and it's what trees do for stormwater and cleaning the air and doing all of the, and raising property values. It's those myriad wonders of the trees that we don't address right now when we have these little pockets of programs that we don't track, we don't measure, and they don't actually mesh with our private development rules and regulations. And I think that this urban forest management plan that can cover all of those is the only even somewhat elegant solution to this problem that we have with a bunch of different programs that sort of work, but we don't know how well, and we don't know if they're the right thing in the right place at the right time. And so I guess the whole presentation made me gasp a little bit because I've lived it. I've lived trying to plant the trees. I've watched them die. I've watched the developers kill the trees that are mature and plant little baby trees, and then they're allowed to die. And all the time we're Tree City, USA, and we're supposed to be protecting all of this. And so the community's frustration and our environmental frustration makes it very difficult not to get super excited about the concept of trees, as you might have seen over the weekend. So if we see progress, and I don't necessarily see progress as buying a piece of parcel and then getting $200,000 for carbon credit so more impact can happen across the world. That to me is not success, because I think we have to look at it as a holistic system, which we are not doing at this point. I'm not going to go into the past. I'm just going to encourage, I already did, didn't I? I want to encourage a far better future that starts immediately. And one of those immediate things is we actually need to protect our heritage trees and our larger trees. Right now, all we do is name them and then we can cut them down. So it's sort of beside the point. We, as a park board, you can start making comments on these rules and regulations that go forth and ask that this type of a tree actually be protected, not just named. And that would be a step in the right direction, and I think would show us, give a signal to the city council about your position. Now, do you have this position? I don't know, but I think you should be asked if you have this position, and then what you might want to do to support this position to the city council. Because right now you're in sort of a passive role of, yeah, we sort of like what you're doing. You could become active and you could promote this tree preservation concept and bring it to raise it to a top layer. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Melissa, you mentioned Mary and someone else.
Yeah, so we have Mary Lynch and also Julian Meidel. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to promote Mary up for a second so we can see if she'd like to make comment. Hi, Mary. Do you like to make comment tonight? Oh.
Thank you. I sent my letter in, and I appreciate Brad you saying what you did say, because I don't see a purpose right now as it's stated with the Heritage Tree program. I don't see really any major public benefit because it's really not being promoted or encouraged for visit. And as Connie said, they're not being protected. So I just question, unless we get something going and really show what value there is to the public, I question the program and wasting people's time to, nominate because it's not being promoted. I'm not against it, but if we're not really going to promote it and use it and protect it, I don't see why we're having it. So that's my question. It's a waste of dollars and time unless we really say what is the value and why are we doing that. I want to also support what Connie said. Just case in point, I was up at the Highlands during the heat wave, and that's where it reached 116 in the Highlands because they have no big trees up there. Where down on the valley floor and other places where we had trees, it didn't get that hot. So I think we need to look at the total canopy and the trees and how we protect it and how it's integrated and the understory, as Connie said. And I really think we need to have an arborist on board that works with reviewing the tree permits, that works with reviewing what's happening with development, looks at the street tree program, make sure we have trees that really are of value that we're replanting. And the other thing Connie said, we're not doing a good job of accounting when we are requiring on development to plant trees. And that's been my concern with the review of the Title 18 is there's no accountability once trees are planted. You go over to the school district and the trees that were planted there, we lost a lot just over the years. And last year with the heat wave, there's even more that have gone, and there's no replanting occurring in most of our developments when a tree dies. So taking down big trees and replacing them with little trees isn't really working as far as I can see. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your thoughts, Mary. And who else, Melissa?
And then we have Julian Meidel. Hold on one moment. Okay, Julian, I've moved you up if you'd like to make comment.
Yes, I'll make a brief comment. My name is Julian. I'm a resident of Issaquah, up in Squawk Mountain, and from the transportation side, I'm on the Transportation Advisory Board. I am. Hold on. I would like to say that we can do a lot better in terms of doing more trees on roads and on arterials. And I think it would be nice to have a arborist as well. I mean, the city much smaller than ours, Snoqualmie, has one. So I think we could find the budget resources to get that. And I think in terms of tree protection, I think we need to weigh like infill development versus tree canopy. And I think infill development is something that we really need to promote. And so trying to find that balance is very crucial. Anyways, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Well, I've successfully bent the rules tonight, but I think it's all good to have as many comments as possible when we have important topics like trees. And we're still reasonably within time. So in any event, that puts us on to Jeff. It's time for you to put together a little comments about your director's report.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for that discussion. Appreciate hearing those public comments as well. Couple items under director's report, two related to Hillside Park. Thank you. A number of you attended either the virtual meeting we hosted last Tuesday. Also appreciate Tim seeing you out there at on site on Thursday. We hosted neighbors to come take a look at Hillside Park. The last week we basically opened up sort of public feedback, neighborhood feedback around some concepts for Hillside Park. We're accepting those comments until the 31st of May, till the end of the month. Those comments are really going to help shape feedback and shape sort of preferred concept that we want to take back out to the community in July and meet our work plan goal of having a sort of some consensus around a preferred concept and how we want to proceed with Hillside Park by the end of August. Another Hillside Park item, a little bit of a tease, I suppose. I'll have more information in June, not only on that Hillside Park concepts and feedback for phase one, but I'd also plan on coming back to you at the park board meeting in June and sharing a little bit more about an acquisition that we're pursuing. We are looking at a little over an acre on what that'd be the southeast corner of Hillside Park to add some assemblage to that 40 acres. That really creates an opportunity for another sort of walk-in entrance into the park. It's also giving us the ability to really start thinking more seriously about what it would look like to create a loop trail around Hillside Park. So more to come on that acquisition. Council's given us the authorization to proceed with a purchase and sale agreement. We're working out the details with the owner right now. So exciting and certainly more to come on that one. I mentioned earlier board recruitment. I'll mention again really fast. Board recruitment is up until the end of the month as we're looking to fill that regular position and the two alternate positions. Thank you all for your feedback earlier tonight on that. Third, and really quickly, another acquisition update, the 20-acre piece on Squawk Mountain that I had updated you on in terms of getting a purchase and sale agreement signed. We are going to be closing on that 20 acres this Thursday, the 26th of May. So mission accomplished in that regard. We really see this 20 acres as being a great addition to acquisitions that the city's already done over the years. It adjoins the state park on Squawk Mountain and really creates opportunity for a wider corridor, both for recreational use and a gateway, but also a wildlife corridor. So multiple benefits with that acquisition. Last bit of director's report I have. I don't necessarily want to share this news, but I'm going to pass the baton over to Melissa. She'd like to share some news with all of you.
Oh, thank you. So exciting, also bittersweet. I've accepted a new position with a startup organization. Can share more details with you guys offline if you'd like, but this sadly is going to be my last official park board meeting as your liaison. Doesn't mean that I won't come and sneak up on your attendee list in the future to check in and see what's going on with this group. But it's been truly an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you for the duration of 8+ years, all the way to several weeks time here, Tim and Katie. So I just want to thank you all for your support and our professional relationships over the years. And I will miss seeing you guys dearly. So thank you.
Sorry to share such bummer news, but Melissa has been such a key part of this department, and very, very sad to see her go. Excited for the opportunity. Wish it wasn't the case. I'm going through my own grief process here as we went through this week. But thank you for sharing that, Melissa. Just knowing the relationship she's had with all of you, the terrific work she's done as liaison. I know just at least being able to share that news with you in person, virtually in person, was really important. So that's the director's report.
Well, what a way to conclude a director's report. Goodness. That's really sad news there, Melissa. Goodness. I feel bad that we're not going to see you anymore, but I wish the best for you, and I knew you'll do spectacular in whatever you do, and they're fortunate to have you, and very sad to see you leave Issaquah. Kind of speechless. It's kind of a surprise to hear that one.
We'll miss you, but I'm so glad that you found something that you're excited about too. So congratulations.
So on to my chair report. I just have a couple things. I mentioned before about the bouncing ball of COVID, and here we still go. We were going to open up the in-person meetings in July, and as I assume you've read your emails, that's now been bounced forward to September. And who knows, the way the world keeps evolving, that is potentially tentative, but we'll see. But in any event, it looks like virtual is with us for a few more months, and so that's a good thing we've mastered that type of communication at least. I was able to attend the IATC Public Lands Forum held on May 16th. It was very educational, very well done. Jeff was there, did a nice presentation. Also had someone from King County and Washington Department of Transportation and Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. And so it was very informative. If you didn't have an opportunity to attend it or see it, it is posted now online, and you can locate that through the Issaquah Alps Trails Club website, or if you want something more simple, you can just send me an email and I'll send you a link to watch it. I've actually seen it again. It was so good. Really liked it. It was a focus on wildlife. And so it was very informative, a lot of good graphics, a lot of good maps. I just thought everybody did a great job in presenting it, and a lot of good news with that. My last little bit is just something to be aware of as I understand it, and then there'll be a November ballot on this, but King County Conservation Futures is trying to re-up some funding again to acquire some additional land. They've already as I understand it, protected 100,000 acres and are trying to do another 65,000 acres in King County. So be on the lookout for that initiative and that ballot in November. I think the support we give King County to save crucial land is very important, especially now. So in any event, those are my 3 items. And I always hate to make Ryan wait, but he's always so patient. And so let's have a little insight from the youth's perspective.
Well, thank you, Brad. I'll start off with saying congratulations, Melissa. I know I'll definitely miss you. I've always appreciated just how friendly and welcoming you've been, even just from my start of my time on the Parks Board. So I wish you the best. Have fun. In terms of what the Youth Advisory Board has going on, sort of 2 main things right now. The big one in terms of events is our Issy Kids Triathlon. We are on to the 5th annual triathlon on June 5th this year. We've got kids registering. We are sort of in the final stretch before that event, and it's really exciting. It's really a whole Parks and Community Services Department effort, and so it should be great to have that back after, I think, 2 years of not having a triathlon. So I'm really excited to see it back before I finish my time up on the board. And then the other thing we're going through right now is picking members for our next year. So I believe we have 14 open spaces since we have a lot of seniors on the board this year graduating. So we had about 44 applicants, and this week we're interviewing, I believe, 32 of them. And so hopefully by the end of the week, we will have picked some new board members.
And Ryan, if I can just add, what a great partnership, the Youth Advisory Board and the department. If you want to see community having a great time, come by the community center June 5th, the kids triathlon. It's just fun energy. So I invite you to please swing by. It's good confirmation of why we do what we do. So thanks, Ryan, for all your great work with that.
And thanks, Ryan, for all your engagement.
Huskies, right?
Thanks for all your engagement with the park board here this past year too. You've been outstanding and appreciate it.
You. I'm looking forward. I'm going to savor these next 2 months. I've got 2 more meetings before I head out.
So winding up, any other announcements or new business anybody want to make a comment about?
Thank you, Zach and Marlene.
Yes, thank you, Zach and Marlene. And if it just hadn't been for the bummer news from Melissa, this would have been a nice meeting. But I guess, everything requires a little balance. You'll even things out here with it, the good and the bad. So anyways, any of that, I guess 8:59, that's a wrap. So meeting is adjourned. Have yourself a great Memorial Day weekend. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Melissa.
night.
Good luck, Melissa.
Thank you.